I don't know if we're on, but I don't see that we're on. There we are. Welcome to Mama's on a Mission. I'm Virginia Jimenez, the girl on Mama's on a Mission, the one that's on here talking, sharing, and creating experiences for moms that are on a mission to create an extraordinary life. And I happen to be in my car right now. I'm actually waiting because my older son is in not taekwondo, jiu-jitsu. Whoops, that's very, very different, the two things. He is in jiu-jitsu, and I decided, you know what, I had some things on my mind, and I wanted to have a conversation about breaking the habit of being yourself. And this is kind of inspired by two things. There's two things going on right now for me. I'm actually reading a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. That's by Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's a very, very good book. It's a book that if you like to know the details as to how we as humans can evolve our mind and change our state of being to really work in our favor, that would be a great book for you. It's very detailed as far as what the science behind it is, but then there's some great exercises at the end of the book that would help to really gain some practice into breaking the habit of being yourself and really recreating a new state of being. This came up because of feelings that I had within myself today. I was just feeling a bit overwhelmed and, not feeling complete with what I want or wanted to accomplish. I realize that a lot of times moms can be very hard on themselves as to, I'm a little hard on myself. I should speak for myself, about wanting to accomplish certain things and just feeling like I have, of course, several different priorities that I am managing at once or throughout the day. So what happened was there was all these different things that came to mind, and it wasn't actually thoughts, it was actually feelings. It was something in my body that was responding like an automatic response, like almost like my body felt down. I wasn't really thinking downer thoughts, but my body felt down. Despite that, it was something that reminded me of what the book is saying, how sometimes our body responds automatically to certain patterns of behaviors. And that's the thing that takes time to break, but it's becoming aware of these things that occur. Because what happens is that the body starts to respond almost like an emotional response to what's occurring. And even though in my mind I don't have it in the forefront, it's something that's occurring simultaneously. It's sending this signal to my mind and starting to feel a certain way. And then I start creating these meanings to it. What does it mean exactly? Is it, I'm just feeling sad? Is it I'm going through a moment? And you know what? I'm just being raw and authentic on this because, it's the reality. It happens. There's moments where it's not feeling, we're not at our 100%, not feeling 100%, basically. And there might be several reasons to it. But here's what I wanted to share with you guys. This is really occurring, but the real magic here is that despite things that occur in our lives, this is just like what I've been saying on other videos, how I close videos. Our life circumstances don't define us. Our attitudes, decisions, and actions certainly do. I think it's important to really address these things as they come up and not sweep them under the rug. And I think that as parents, a lot of busy parents, busy moms, even some dads, if you're listening, it's very easy to just sweep things under the rug and then not necessarily address it and keep going on and on and on. And I think that we got to slow things down and honor that whatever it is going on within ourselves, take a moment to address it. And I'm big on this because I am a coach, and actually that's really what I do with clients, is that it is an opportunity. When clients hire me, it is them making an investment to slow things down, to really slow things down and commit to making time for themselves. When I've gone to a coach, it's the same thing. It's an opportunity for me to slow down and really take my time with honoring what's going on and what I feel I need to address within myself. What are these feelings that I have? Where are they coming from? What's the culprit, and what could I do to shift my perspective, the energy within myself, so that I can show up brilliantly in this world? And I think lots of people go through moments like these, and that's usually moments where we might reach out to a friend and or we might reach out to our coach to have conversations to shift our perspective. But what if you don't have these things? What if you don't have access to talking to somebody about what you're feeling and how, and how to shift that perspective, so you do break the habit of being being yourself. And I don't mean yourself as in you're not enough. No, I'm not saying that. You're definitely enough. But I think that a part of us in our minds, sometimes we shift to behaviors that are old, that are no longer serving us. And that's what I mean, like shifting that so that it's a new part of ourselves, a new form within ourselves. So what do we do in those cases? Well, I can tell you, based on stuff that I've read, based on my own experiences, there have been so many, I can tell you different stories in my past that I've had moments where I realized that my mind and my body was completely reactive to what was happening in my life, and I felt really depressed. I mean, as a teenager, there were many years as a teenager where I felt very, very depressed, extremely alone. I felt lonely. I felt like I didn't have anybody to turn to or talk to. I think there was a good year and a half where I was not even talking that much with family members and cousins who I was literally very close to. I felt this, there were things going on within myself that just were not allowing me to open up. I think that I had trust issues already with people that were close. I didn't feel that I had somebody to count on, and that's not, it wasn't completely true. It's just that I had to learn how to assess trust differently. But that's neither here nor there. The biggest thing is that one day I just woke up and I realized that my thinking and my feeling wasn't really tied to what I wanted. And there was something that happened within myself, almost like a click. Like I realized there were two parts of me. One that was becoming aware, like understanding, wait a minute, I'm feeling this way, but look around me. I have so many great things to be grateful for. Why am I feeling like this? Why do I feel sad? Why do I feel like I'm alone? Is it true that I'm by myself? Am I really, do I have nobody that I can turn to? I mean, and I was, despite being like depressed many times, I was still actively doing things. I had friendships. I even had a job in high school. This was during high school. There were a lot of things that were going for me, and yet I was feeling so down, and I had to kind of get out of that mind, get out of myself and look at myself and see, hey, I have great things in my life. I have all these things. What is it that I'm doing that's filling me up with this? Right? Unconsciously, we are picking up information all the time. And despite us knowingly, becoming or consciously paying attention to these things subconsciously impact us. For example, at that time, I will never forget that when that moment clicked for me and I was a teenager, I was a hardcore Toni Braxton fan, like big time. I mean, my first CD ever was a Toni Braxton CD, and I absolutely loved listening to it. And I think at that moment, within that week, I split that CD in half, because I realized that every time I listened to it and really paid attention to the words, something inside of me felt sadness. It felt sadness. I could relate with what she was saying, or I could put myself in her shoes, because she was talking about heartbreak and feeling lonely. Again, these are the things that I was feeling at that time, lonely, and who do I turn to and who can I trust? And I think it's important to be mindful of our thoughts and how that can really impact the way we feel and the way our body responds in the world. And that's the thing. Simultaneously, both things started to work. My mind is absorbing this information, my body's responding to it. Then at some point, I didn't really think about it anymore. I didn't think it was a song or any of the other things that were going on around me, because music wasn't the only thing impacting me. My home life was impacting me as well. But despite that, it was a moment to become aware that my thinking, my thoughts, becoming conscious about shifting my perspective, or shifting even my body, my use of my body, could shift the way I was living my life, and I could change how I was showing up in the world. I could change the way I was behaving and feeling and acting out. And I'm telling you, it happened within an instant of realizing how powerful we really are as human beings, because we really are powerful. But it takes a lot of it could take a lot of practice. It depends where you are in your process. some people that have been doing the type of behavior for years and years, it could take several years. Or if they are dedicated to themselves, if they dedicated themselves, let's say, to somebody that they can converse with on a weekly basis, bi-weekly basis, to shift their perspective and really get them to stay true to creating that new reality for themselves, shifting their behavior so they no longer go back to the automatic, robotic way of dealing with life. And I mean, I say robotic because it's almost like we're on, I mean, in Joe Dispenza's book, he mentions that, how we kind of go on autopilot. And I used to say this all the time. It's just like when you're driving a car and you are, you know the address already, and you kind of have been going there for many, many years, or even a couple weeks, maybe several weeks, you've been going to this address, your new job, whatever, and you're already going there without even thinking about it. You don't need the GPS. You're just listening to the music, and you by the time you get there, you're like, wow, I got here. I didn't even remember making any of the turns. I don't remember even stopping at red lights. Did I stop at red lights? I mean, I remember that stuff used to happen to me all the time before, and it still does with certain addresses that I go to. It happens to us even with the way that we have been behaving, even when we have behaviors that are no longer serving us, that really, really we need to kick them in the ass and just shift our minds and our bodies to work differently and get used to it. How do we do that though? Well, it's funny because in the book they mention how there's actually a meditation practice that's done to help with this. And I've been doing Mindful Monday Moments, which has to do with breathing, they're pretty much becoming conscious of your breath and staying present. And I think that just that is one way of doing it. It's a practice. It's a piece of the puzzle. It's a piece of the puzzle to become mindful of where you are in your process, becoming present, of getting out of your mind, of getting out of where your body is feeling, and moving out and seeing yourself from the outside perspective. And then the other thing is being mindful, really conscious of what is occurring in your body. Sometimes we're not really taking inventory and we're just going on autopilot once again. And we're feeling certain things, but we're not taking the time to address how our body is feeling and why it's feeling a certain way. What are the needs that our bodies have? What are the needs that our mind needs or has in certain moments? Are we slowing things down to the point where we can really say, hey, right now this is what I need? Oh my goodness. And actually that happened to me this weekend. I felt on Sunday, yesterday, today's Monday, I was feeling like there was a moment where I was like, wait, it's been several hours. I was watching a movie, so that's probably why I was totally focused on the movie, but I wasn't paying attention to how I was feeling at that moment or what my needs were, even after the fact. I think I was just feeling super tired and just not addressing it. And I think it's important to do that. So being mindful of your thoughts, and staying present. And the other thing is, what is a question that we can ask ourselves to shift our perspective? What question could we ask ourselves to shift our perspective in certain times? So there might be a number of questions we can ask, such as, how am, taking a moment to take that breath in, right? Honoring our breath, honoring being present, and then asking ourselves, how my body's feeling? Is there any part of my body that feels tension? Am I feeling tension in my head? Let's do a scan from top to bottom. Where am I feeling some tension, or where is there some sort of feeling? And then ask, why is that feeling there? What do I need right now? Is there something that I need? And those are just a couple, 3 questions to start off with. And especially the what do I need right now? Because sometimes we're not slowing things down to ask ourselves what the need is at that moment. So that's pretty much it. I think that this is just the beginning of something for me, and I'm kind of just like letting it all out and sharing what my thoughts were around becoming mindful about our thoughts and how they impact the way we show up in the world, because they do. They impact our demeanor. They impact how poised we look, if we look confident or not. It also impacts our performance, what we do with ourselves, and how we perform in our daily tasks, how we perform as parents, how we perform as business owners or professionals. And so it's important to honor those things. I think I'm going to leave you with a couple things, just a recap of what we talked about: becoming mindful of our thoughts, and then shifting it by really analyzing them with asking good questions. So first, starting off with being present, being mindful of your breath, and then assessing how your body feels, going from top to bottom, and then asking yourself certain questions like, You know, where is this feeling coming from? Why is it there? And what do I need right now? You know, and this is just the beginning of it. There's so much more that we could do to kind of shift our minds. I mean, going back to the story of when I was younger, again, I realized that what is it that I need? I wanted to feel happy, and I needed to get rid of things that were not serving me feeling that way. And I realized that things that were outside in my environment were impacting that, and I was allowing it to impact that. I don't want to blame my environment. I didn't realize that unconsciously they were impacting me, and I just didn't put a stop to it. So, I mean, I did several things at that time. I realized that my need was to get rid of things that were making me sad, the music, not listening to music like that. I started listening to uplifting music, even my environment. I actually decided there was a person that in my life who I love very much. They're still in my life today, who was always, they were a Debbie Downer. They misery loved company at that time. And they really wanted company all the time. And I had to say no. I had to say, I'm sorry, I love you, but I can't be with you all the time like this because you make me feel, or not you make me feel sad, but I feel sad when I'm with you, and I need to stay true to me, because you know what, at the end of the day, mama, if you can't serve yourself, you really are going to have a hard time serving or helping anybody else. And I'll leave you with that. Remember that in life, your circumstances don't define you, your attitudes, decisions, and thoughts, they do. So go out there and live an extraordinary life, one choice at a time. Peace.